Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this episode, we're going to come back to this cargo hub, and we're going to begin connecting even more resources to it. I'm not too sure if we're going to begin sending them out, but at least getting maybe 2 more resources connected up to this cargo hub. And I think the one that I want to do is coming from this food processing plant here. And the second one I want to do is potentially explore how easy it would be to get fuel coming from this fuel refinery into the cargo hub here. So for this food processing plant here, I think we're going to want to bring grain in from probably this farm here, as this is the closest farm, and really probably the only farm on this side of the river, so there's not really any other options besides this one here. Now that will limit us in the future on how much food we can realistically produce from here, but it doesn't seem like too many of the cities require it on this side of the river anyway. So let's begin setting up our train station that'll run from the farm. We'll bring it between this valley, sort of bridge over this gap here. We'll probably need to tunnel through this mountain and then connect up somewhere right over here. So the terrain is pretty rough, but we'll just have to see what we can come out with for our train tracks. Now we are going to choose a cargo station. Make sure it's fairly long and high speed. And we'll get this facing roughly the direction we want it to, which is pretty much just like that. Then we can click here and see we are getting grain from that farm. And quickly we'll even out the terrain on this side of the station, just so it doesn't look quite as odd with this sort of cliff face. So there's that. And then we'll need to come in and place down another station. This one will probably fit quite nicely directly across the street from the food processing plant. We'll bring that over just about as far as we can go. And then from there, it'll loop around. We might even be able to bring it onto the same tracks here, which wouldn't be a terrible idea. But we'll see when it comes to it. So let's begin placing this track down. Obviously we're going to have to tunnel out of here to begin with. That doesn't look too bad. Actually, let's just do something fun. And let's sort of exaggerate this valley just a bit more. I think it'd be really cool to see a train traveling right through this valley. You sort of got like 2 cliff faces on either side of it. This is probably a little bit more expensive than just doing a tunnel, but at this point, money doesn't really matter to us. So we can sort of just do whatever we want as long as it looks good in the end. Alright, so we have this track here. We can click that. And now that we have this sort of nice curve, we can smooth out the edges just a tiny bit in some of the spots that we want to. It will smooth this up just a little bit. And then I like the idea of this side being very steep, sort of cliffside. Alright, so now we have our 2 tracks coming out of the farm, and now we just have to figure out how we're going to get it over to the food processing plant. So we'll have to bridge across here. This might end up being a fairly large bridge. We can get it to touch down onto the top of this mountain here, which isn't too bad. So we'll go like that. We are going to have to bridge across this gap here, which this I was expecting. So we can do that and then bring it across right to where we want it. So right about here. And then let's see if we can get this to just connect right up, which I think it does. So we do have a few bridges on this line. We'll have to go through, select the correct bridge. Let's see if we have any new tunnel styles, which we don't. So we'll just go with this big curved track here. And then what we can do is just bring this second set of tracks right along with it. Alright, so here's our track running from the farm over to the food processing plant. We have all the signals, and we have the tracks coming into the station here. Now, we need to figure out how we're getting it from the food processing plant over to the cargo hub here. Now, I think the best option is to just connect up to this track here, but the only issue with that is this is all on bridges, and I don't think there's a really good looking way we can get an intersection between these two tracks while it's on a bridge. I could be wrong, but I just don't think, I think it'll be too much effort, especially because the food processing plant is slightly lower than these than this construction materials plant, so we'd have to come up and then start going down to the cargo hub. So that also wouldn't make sense, as our train would be less efficient as it needs to carry a load slower uphill and then just roll down to the cargo hub. It'd be much easier if we could just keep it at this elevation and just sort of follow this line here across and then into the cargo hub. So that's what we're gonna do. We'll keep those tracks separate. Maybe in the future, if we do some sort of huge redesign of our train network, it might be a different outcome, but for now we'll just stick with this. So this brings us out just level out of this tunnel here. And this is going to bridge yet again across this valley, although we are starting to get a pretty cool sort of backdrop here with these three train bridges. But anyway, we'll bring this across here. And then we just have to figure out how we're going to get it to come across and into the cargo hub. So this is nice. This will bridge right across our road here in a pretty nifty way. I really like how it's doing that. So we'll do this, and then we can just have it slide right into the next slot on our cargo hub. So now we'll just bring around the second track, and then we can begin putting trains on here. Alright, so now our train is connected up all the way over to the cargo hub, and now we can place down a train depot and get some trains rolling. So I think just outside of this valley here would be a good spot to add our train depot. So we can throw that in there, connect it up whenever it lets us. Not too sure why it's having trouble. Alright, so we finally got the train depot in here, sort of sitting back in this pocket in this mountain. And what we can do is begin to make our train. Alright, so this will be the train that we'll be rolling with. We've got just over 10 gondola cars behind it. And we'll start off... Let's start off with 3 of these trains. I'm not too sure if it's too much or too little for the farm on a line of this distance, but we'll find out once this gets up and running. So outcome our trains for the grain line from the farm to the food processing plant. Now we need to build our train that'll go from the food processing plant here into the cargo hub over here. Alright, and for our food line, we're gonna run this kind of train. We're only gonna have 2, just because it is, it takes 2 grain to get 1 food at the food processing plant, so naturally we'll need fewer trains on this line than we would the ones that bring in grain. So now we have that line set up, and all we have to do is wait and see if it works. So now our boxcar trains are coming out, and we'll come back when they start carrying food. Alright, so we do have grain coming in here. Obviously it's not producing anything. That's obviously because the cargo hub isn't connected to any resource, any city that takes food. But that we will begin to work on in another episode. I know I said we would connect up 2 resources, but just for the sake of time, we'll just do the food in this episode, and then in the next video we'll connect up this fuel refinery, and that'll just be a quick thing at the beginning of the next video. I think the best way to do it is to bring oil from here down to this oil refinery, and then we'd have an airport that would fly it probably up to here, where we then probably connect a road to this little highway here that would drop it off at the fuel refinery. And then from this fuel refinery, I think we could have another train station and merge it with this one, so that we can have trains bringing in oil or fuel on the same line as the one that brings in food. So hopefully that won't take long in the beginning of the next video, and we'll be able to get a little bit more in the next video, but that's going to be all for our building in this episode. What I'd like to do quickly is just go through and upgrade some more roads on this side of the river. And one that I've noticed is this one here. This is still running on dirt roads, which is certainly not what we want at this point in our technology, as these trucks are getting severely limited by the speed limit on these dirt roads. So we'll just turn this into a 4-lane highway all the way out to... Well, we're going to have to redo this real quick. But all the way out to the plastics factory where they're taking all of this oil. So we'll have to redraw a road here. As long as we get one connection point, we'll be good. So we'll bring this around here, connect that up to the intersection, and then have this just connect up like that. And then through here, we can continue upgrading. We might have to redo this small portion of road, just so this train station stays hooked up. I have to sort of find the right spot. So there we go. And then just connect that up to the end of this road. All we need is a tiny road connecting there. So now that's this road upgraded to a much faster highway, which hopefully will allow us to get a lot more oil out of this oil refinery, and also just generally help with traffic running through here. And I think just because these roads are so close, we are going to connect this road up to... Yeah, we can do this intersection. It's a little bit weird, but there's always weird intersections. And then this will now connect up Green Bay to this sort of road network that runs into Bridgeport. So we'll also upgrade this. I think we could afford to do a 4-lane road yet again. And we'll bring this pretty much all the way up to where it meets this oil refinery here, and then heads into the city. And then obviously this road here gets very heavily used, so we'll upgrade that. This is a weird turn. I think these cars are figuring it out just fine. Somehow our traffic issues on this road have built back up. Not too sure what's causing it, as it doesn't seem too bad once they get into here. Maybe we'll just keep an eye on this in the future. But I think coming back to this side, this connection between these two cities could definitely afford to be much smoother than it currently is. So we can do that, upgrade the roads, and now that should be much better. Now Bridgeport and Lexington are connected by a faster road. All of these cities are pretty connected up. All their roads have been upgraded. I think this little road that runs up to Cedar Rapids needs upgraded. There's quite a few cars using it, so I'm sure they would appreciate paved roads as opposed to dirt. And there we go. Looks like we are getting a little bit of traffic issues, but hopefully this faster road will help out with all of that traffic. And now I think that's pretty much every city has at least a sort of paved road connection between them, allowing for much faster car traffic, even though some of it is pretty windy like this. But I think that's going to be it for this episode. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.